Hello, welcome to Matterall, a chill stream. We're going to talk about Eve Online, of course, what's in the news and what's going on with Eve, what's going on with CCP, what's going on with the Council of Stellar Management. It's a lot of interesting stuff happens behind the scenes. I can tell you a little bit about that in a minute. I want to say hi to my friend Ash Dorothy, who's here with me. How's it going, Ash?
Greetings.
All
How
right,
are you?
really good. I want to remind you guys that this is a public stream, so you can hang out with us and talking in Station's Discord, where we have now over almost 2,600 people that reside there. About 800 to 1,000 are online and active during the right about now, which is really amazing because that's about the same size as INN, which is surprising. Yeah, we have.
And yet it is not awful, which is awesome.
Well, I don't know if
I'm
there's.
not saying anything about INN. I'm just saying, like, as
Yeah.
the community gets bigger.
Yeah, we have 866, they have 846. For a while, we were about 40 people less, and now we're about 40 people above on average, which just means that we're growing, and that's a good and bad thing. But you are welcome to join us if you want to, or you can talk to us on chat where we will respond as much as we can. Take your questions and all that good stuff. All right, so what I have on screen right now is a tweet that went out. This is from CCP Deadlift. All you glorious space nerds spinning your ships have summoned an invasion. I told you it would work. So it looks like they're having some problems, huh? I mean, the invasion is back, but you need to restart your client, as Ashtarothi was just saying.
Well, that's just because your client holds onto a cache. So sometimes if something updates, you have to relog in order to update your cache. The same is true. There's a couple other situations in which that'll happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, so there is an invasion going on. It's back. This is patch day post +1, patch day +1. So there are probably going to be some ups and downs going forward until they get it all steady. Oh,
I wonder if this is because they were like changing it somehow, because we have seen some changes already on Singularity, and they've said that there's going to be changes throughout the next 2 or 3 weeks as they roll out this out deeper and deeper. So it could be possible that that's why we saw this disruption this morning, but that's maybe just me being optimistic.
well, actually, let's talk about that a little bit. One of the things that you and I discussed was just how they're rolling this out is much different than usual.
Yeah, I've never seen anything quite like this. Like they've always kind of wanted to be secret, but Hoba leaks has always been a thing, and they've always kind of danced around it a little bit. But this is a whole nother level, especially since you have those events going on in which they which is where they usually share a lot of information, but they've been super tight-lipped about everything.
Yeah, and also uh, we didn't know what the loot was going to be when they rolled this out. We didn't know some of the statistics. There's just a lot of mystery behind it, which is good. Then people get to discover it and experiment, and it lends some status to people who are breaking news on how to take these things on and stuff like that. Also, you said they were upgrading it often, and some of the
Well,
stuff's not appearing on the test server.
yeah, so basically one of their tactics is that they're rolling this out in stages, so that way, like, when we saw it originally on Sissy, it wasn't the complete information, and not all the information was even accurate, because they can put whatever they want in the files, right? So then, like, yesterday we saw pretty significant changes on Hoba leaks, and so they're holding things back a little bit, and they're testing basics here in order to be able to do the next thing. So, like, we knew what ships were going to be there and what stats were going to be there and what was going to drop, but we didn't understand how it was all going to work until now, and we still don't know fully how it's going to work. We know that it looks like the next phase is going to somehow more directly involve the world arc.
The world arc. We've seen the world arc though, haven't we?
No, from my understanding, no one has seen the world arc inside of the game.
Oh, okay.
Like, I mean, like in K-Space, not in the shipyard.
Right. Right. So, like, I don't know if you've kept up with this, you guys, but A lot of this stuff was slowly revealed through players saying they've seen things in these abyssal space areas. And there was no announcement from CCP of what they were. So the players themselves took photographs, and I don't know how they did it, but they looked like they took radar scans and figured out what the shape of this thing was and how big it was. And they started making a lot of predictions on what it could be. And it's pretty amazing at how accurate their predictions were. That it is a ship, that it wasn't a structure, and then that really led to the information that we have now, which is these invasions that are here. But we don't know
Yeah,
much about them.
the original assumption was that it was going to be a dreadnought. It was way too big for that. We found out for two reasons. One, if you do a T5 now, there's a possibility that the third pocket will be totally different. Very similar to the actual invasion trailer, in the fact that the gate is open already. And there's this giant structure with a ton of Lashaks and other things around it. And then the cache is closer to it. So it's a smash and grab. You're supposed to go grab the cache and get out before everything kind of comes and kills you. But if you manage to do that, you get what's called a semiosis console. So with the semiosis console, you will receive messages from the Triglavians once or twice a week. And that message was also where we got the rest of the information about the World Arc. So they sent out schematics for the World Arc. And then right before the invasion began, we started getting like they were scanning individual suns. And so it like would show a sun and then would show like a capsuleer that they saw there, and some like luminal data about the sun and whatnot. And that was the final thing right before the actual invasion began.
Yeah. Well,
It's almost like they were picking targets.
oh, hey, McLeod.
Hey, dude.
Morning. I was up, let's see, my time right now, just so you guys know, is 9 a.m. And I got up at 3 in the morning, right before downtime. Actually, I was up around 2:30 to help Northern Coalition defend its SOV. And there was a fight in tribute. One second. Those are the morning spam calls. There was a fight in tribute near SH1, which is the headquarters of NC right now. And Horde, PL, and Northern Coalition showed up with sufficient numbers to ward off an actual attack on the iHub. So that was interesting. So it was, it was kind of a good moment for NC and PL and Horde to be able to defend it that way. Will they be able to do that over and over and over again? Unlikely, but it's a good sign, a little bit of a morale boost for those guys. So they managed to avoid what would have been a really bad situation, which would have been losing your iHub that holds, your staging Keepstar. That would have been a bad deal. So they didn't allow that to happen, which is good.
Ash has got to go make me some bacon.
He did? Is that what you like?
I'll be back.
All right.
Congratulations on holding your ground.
Well, temporarily. It was nice to see those numbers, though. That was, we're talking deep Australian time zone, so that was pretty cool.
Just remember, everything in Eve is ephemeral.
Yeah, everything. All right, let's transition back into where we were. Whoops. Yeah, all right, so let me look at these comments here. I know a lot of people are not impressed by Tribute. That's okay. How are you guys this morning, and what's going on with you?
Well, I woke up to the fact that people have been saying the invasion system was broken / bugged / not working, which was kind of funny because people were memeing on it. People were like sort of basically talking it down, sort of thing, in the sense that like, oh, you planned X number of X number of streamers to stream this, and you don't have any content for them to stream, which is a bit kind of it's a bit awkward in terms of dropping those guys in it, because essentially the people coming to those streams are going, well, where's the invasion content? And they don't really have an answer other than it's bugged / broken / not functioning properly, it seems. But whether that's actually the case, or whether it was whether we now kind of see that the cadence for the invasions are, you have this one, you have an invasion, and then you have a cooldown period, and then another invasion, and then a cooldown period. That might be the case, but we basically had a cooldown from about an hour before downtime up until sort of I think maybe like like half an hour ago or something like that, maybe less than that, maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes ago. But it's now back on, and the invasion is now in.
Well, let's have a look. We can look it up as soon as we see some daylight.
It's now, there's an invasion, a group of 9 systems being invaded by the Triglavians near Amar right now.
Oh yeah, Sonama. Is that Desto? Yep. Yeah, that's a ways away. Look at that. I see the little triangles. Oh, it's so funny. So when they're
nice. It's actually kind of nice. I like the fact that it shows that there's triangles there. It kind of shows that like there's, it's not like, a big pop-up saying, you're going to go through an invasion, so it's like a system that's being invaded by Triglavians right now. Mm-hmm. But it does kind of, for someone who who may be a little bit of eagle-eyed in that kind of sense, it does kind of give you information, which is nice.
There's graphic glitches here. See the engines through the hull? That's a glitch. Wow.
Game's broken, it's dead.
Rip CC. Literally unplayable.
Rip EVE Online. Literally unplayable.
Yeah, so okay, so we have some Goonswarm sympathizers saying that oh great, they defended one iHub. It's a big deal. I think it would have been a big deal if Goons had taken it. It would have been a terribly demoralizing thing, because now you've got the Keep Star under attack, and you have all these supers that are a part of that. They have to find a way out. I think it would have been a big deal if they'd lost that. And maybe they'll eventually lose it in the near future. It might take a while. I don't know. Depends on the resistance, really. But what's clear is that Vince Draken was determined to fight, and they were ready to go. Nothing happened. But they got the objective. At least resets, and we go back to where we were for a little while. The tribute itself as a whole won't be defended, probably. If it is defended, I mean, maybe it will. I don't know. You can never tell. Vince Draken makes up his own mind. People don't convince him to do anything. So if he decides that he's going to invade, then it might actually turn into a hot war, which would be pretty cool, I think, for all the players involved who like that kind of thing. Sure. So yeah, it's not an entire region defended, but it is a significant little victory. There will be more defeats, I'm sure, in the future. All right, we're making our way back to a shuttle I left behind. Might as well get back into the proper shuttle, and then we'll go check out what's going on. But yesterday we did have a look at these invasions and how it turns everything red, and there's some effects, and the rats kind of pursue you and kill you. Basically, it is pockets. When these invasions occur, they are a dangerous area. They're considered low sec, essentially, because you have to acknowledge that you're going into this dangerous area before you wander into it, which is pretty cool.
Why am I typing?
I don't know why you're typing, dude. I'm like, who's this Ashtarothi guy?
I wouldn't call it low sec because Concord does respond, and so a lot of people actually had that confusion. Concord is very much in force. It's just Triglav, including led by Zoria, will try to wreck your face. From my understanding, though, the outer ones, like the perimeter ones, don't have scrams on gates. But if that's not true, you can't tell them that I told you.
Well, Well, this is cool. So now I'm going to get back into my shuttle. You'll see that my Corvette here, I'm just going to leave that behind because I don't really need it. I can always, with this button, bring up a new Corvette, which is a new feature. It's kind of cool. Talked about that one yesterday as well.
You get a Corvette, and you get a Corvette, and you get a Corvette. Everybody gets a Corvette.
Channeling Oprah. All right. Should we head back to Jita, or should I go look at where this thing is? Let's actually see the new. I like this thing a lot. I think the redesign is pretty good. What do you guys think? I'm talking about the agency. You can't see my window.
Oh, agents like the redesign of the agency. This
Yeah.
is really, really good.
You know, you can't
It's
resize the
just-
window, it looks
yeah.
like. It is what it is. So
I
you
guess
can-
time will tell. I mean, you know, there's so many people who play this game, and so many people have particular likes and dislikes on how like UI is. I'm sure there's going to be some people complaining.
Yeah. Escalations. Occasionally exploring a site will uncover clues to larger dead space mystery. Currently unavailable. That's probably because I am in secure high-sec space.
Well, you
high
just
security
don't have any
space.
escalations right now.
Yeah, but you can't escalate out
Heck yeah, you can.
of anywhere, huh?
Well, so for instance, one of the ways that I made a lot of money with my Stratios and HiSec was if you run around and do dens,
Mm-hmm.
dens can actually escalate to, I believe, a 4 or 5 of 10. It's one of the hardest sites that can spawn in HiSec. So you can actually get some pretty good loot if you hunt for dens.
Yeah. I thought those were only in nullsec because people tend to just run the 1010s or something. Right?
Well, each one,
Quite
like,
familiar.
they have different tiers, right? So HiSec can, or nullsec spawns the 10 of 10s, whereas HiSec will spawn up to 4 of 10.
You know what's always confused me is the plexes versus the anoms versus like all that kind of stuff, because there's different types of plexes, right? Like people say, you want to get your standing up duplexes or Cosmos. That's what it was, Cosmos.
Oh, Cosmos missions.
Yeah.
Cosmos missions are, we're just going to go with broken. Totally broken.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that they're like on the way out. Like they're thinking about taking them out.
I'm not joking. They're legit. They're just straight up not working. In fact, I remember when they came out with the original agency, they put them in that agency and then they took them out because they realized, oh no, these are not something we want to point people to.
Here is the new agent finder. They integrated it with the agency. And as you can see, it shows up to 30 results, which is kind of cool. And then you can filter down to less results here. These are, I believe, geographically aware of where you are so that you're looking at agents that are near you.
Paxium saying that he did complete both the Caldarian Amar Cosmos missions last month. So maybe some of them are okay. Maybe he got lucky. Maybe I'm not right. One of the three.
Yeah, I didn't hear they were broken, but I heard they were possibly on the way out.
Well, I know a couple of years ago they were talking about how broken it was. I remember, I think it was CCP Affinity was talking about the stats and everything, and she's like, and she put in the caveat except Cosmos missions because they weren't like something that they could guarantee would be a thing, if that makes sense.
Is that your,
like not all of them, but there were some of them where like they just broke it, like they did, like it didn't keep going.
We should explain that's your son playing around in the background. So
that's correct. That's his excited sound.
All right. So yeah, so that's what that is. No need to ask questions about what's going on.
I don't have somebody gagged in the back of my room or something.
Yeah. Last time we thought it was a GIMP. They had some secret GIMP or something in the cellar.
Well, that's not him.
Oh. He sounds different than that. Yeah, so thank you very much, Ginger. Appreciate the subscription. That's really cool. Hey, Cheetah, how's it going? I won't say what your other name is, just in case you're trying to hide in Cheetah. But Cheetah is a good friend of the Targeting Stations crew. Okay, let's have a look at some questions here. So we were talking about Cosmos and how they're kind of broken, and possibly CCP's looking at taking them out because they don't want to spend the resources to fix them. What do you guys know about Cosmos missions? Like what they were good for?
You get storyline mods from that, or am I not correct in that?
I think you do, yeah, but
I think.
it's
I
useful.
mean, they were originally supposed to be like plot, like they're supposed, kind of like the epic arcs are.
Yeah, they
But
were
I gotta
like
go make bacon.
the first epic arcs, basically. And I think they were faction bound, so each faction had a Cosmos missions in a certain area, so it had its own constellation. And yeah, exactly. They were meant for, as Tamaya Cowboy says here, Cosmos helped you fix your faction standings. Not only fix it, but also accelerate your faction standings. Like if you really wanted to get faction standings up, you could run these missions, and they were really good for that. One second. One of the things that was interesting before, I don't know if players were around before you could buy yourself back to normal standings, and that was a pain for a long time. If you really wanted to be a pirate, or if you were in nullsec and were just shooting people in lowsec sometime, you would get penalized pretty harshly and then not be able to move around well through highsec. So it kind of prevented nullsec fleets from going through highsec space, because there was about 10, 15, 20% of the pilots that couldn't safely travel through highsec. So that became kind of a pain. So much so that CCP, and maybe through encouragement from CSM, I don't know, because this very much sounds like a player-driven thing, made a way for you to buy your standing back. So if you had a -5 or whatever, you could buy yourself all the way up to 0, and that way you wouldn't get attacked and you could safely travel through there. But before that, you had to earn it back.
So first of all, there's a difference between faction standings and security status. But yeah, the old way of getting security status is kind of gamey. Well, it's still technically possible. It's based on the highest value rat that you've killed in the last 15 minutes, based on the system. So people would like jump between nullsec systems and like kill a single battleship and then move to the next system.
Yeah.
Now what they've done is they've made it so these tags drop in lowsec, and so other people can go and farm them. So instead of you having to go farm them, you can now pay for other people to go farm them, which is what the tags do.
Yeah, you essentially get tags from rats that die in lowsec, certain rats that die in lowsec. And then, I mean, you know, as with all the things, because they're you can put them on the market, you can, people can basically buy them in bulk now.
Mm-hmm. So there's a difference between, and Cowboy points this out too. Where was it? Difference between sec standings or security status with standings. And
well, there's two standings that you need to worry about. There's standings regarding Concord, and then there's standings regarding the current faction
the Navy faction, right?
Yeah,
the Navy of the Empire that you're in.
Exactly.
Well, they've split Concord standings with security status. Around the time of incursions, they took whatever your Concord standing was, that became your security status, and then from that point on, they were separate.
Okay. I thought both would attack you, though.
It's good to know the genesis of that, actually, to be fair.
Yeah. I thought the both of them would both of them attack you, the Navy and security status, Concord? Would they both
security
attack
is police.
Yeah. But would they
Concord
both...
only acts if you've actually taken an action this time,
okay.
or you're a criminal.
All right, so
the police will respond if you've got low security, and then faction the faction police will, or the faction Navy will respond if you've got low faction standing.
And they're the ones that chase you out.
Well, all of them will chase you out if they want to, except for Concord. They'll just blow you up.
They disable you, it turns out, and then they blow you up. All right, I'll go back. Before they divided all that up, a lot of that is in my memory from 2008 through 2010, before incursions. So the security agents are back, so check those out. You can find stuff that you're looking for, like I want level 4 missions. And that is who is around my area, which is pretty cool. All right, let me actually make my way home. Oh, I didn't set standing because I didn't figure out where I wanted to go, but I'll just take it to Jita. So what's new with you guys?
Well, I am in a system using my 3D mouse.
Oh yeah, tell us about that. What's it allow you to do?
So the way it kind of differs from you using the regular mouse when you're like watching and looking at ships and stuff is when you're using a regular mouse, you're basically kind of using like the sort of keys to kind of move around, but you only have like access really to sort of like two directions of travel each time, right?
Yeah.
When you see good kind of good looking tracking shots and stuff like that, in very cinematic kind of tracking shots, like normally what's happening there is you've got like you know uh, you've got basically like three directions, maybe even four directions of movement, and maybe a little bit of uh, a little bit of like twisting movement, that kind of thing. That isn't really possible with keyboard and mouse, or a regular keyboard and mouse. But this 3D mouse is designed specifically, well, not designed specifically for even for this instance, but it's designed as a way of more intuitively moving around 3D space for things like people who design things in 3D, or people who animate in 3D, that kind of thing. So it's designed to be something that allows you to move in 3D space very efficiently and effectively. And CCP kind of have seen this, and obviously, people told them about it, and they designed or they put together drivers to allow a 3D mouse to be used in Eve, which is absolutely fantastic because it allows some really amazingly cinematic kind of movement of your camera. But you have to be very, very particular about your movement to be really smooth, because if you've ever tried to do tracking shots with the regular camera, and like you try and do that but actually go into the escape menu, there's a thing which says inertia. Like, put inertia all the way to the, I think it's the right hand side, like where there's no inertia whatsoever. That's kind of what the tracking camera is at the moment. Like, your movement is, you have to be extremely like smooth with your movement, otherwise like it just stops. So like hopefully they add some inertia to the 3D mouse kind of driver in some way, shape, or form, or allow it to affect the 3D mouse driver. Because right now it's really, really awesome, but it's quite difficult to use for unless you actually practice with it like a lot.
So you've been practicing.
Yep.
Good, because
That I have. I was practicing in around Jitter, like literally looking at the Jitter dock and flying around ships on the Jitter dock like for a good few hours yesterday. It's fun.
Awesome. All right. Let's move on a little bit. We have some audios that have come out for CSM interviews. Those are finally starting to come out. There's a bunch in the can that are being edited now. You want to give us an update, McLeod?
Before, give me a moment so a helicopter can go overhead.
Over my head or over your head?
My head.
Oh, because one went over my head. I don't know if you heard it.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Yeah, so CSM interviews from TIS are going out.
Yep. Oh, yeah, good point. So we've got we've already put 2 out. It was Liz Lizardbreath and Steve Ronican.
What's that guy's name? Steve Ronican.
It's like Steve Ronican.
Ronick, the best known CSM out there. Yeah.
Steve's good. I like Steve, but then again, I knew him before he was a CSM.
Yeah. I knew him before he was Steve. I was into him before he got famous.
But okay. Yeah, we've got those, and we've got a few others at the moment, but because they were of TI's staff, they were done by like the interviewer was not any TIS member, so
Yeah.
like we're just we've given it to Raiden. We've given
Streamfleet.
the initial ones to Raiden to to look over and see whether he's happy with them, and if he is, then we'll release those as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've got a few more. We've got a few others. We're working on a few others as well, obviously.
I think Schnoodles might need me. I might have to jet.
Schnoodles, is that a stuffed up?
We're doing the stream fleet or the Eve Online invasion stream initiative or
Oh.
whatever, which is a really cool thing that Dopamine put together.
Yeah.
So he took a lot of streamers and like, so it's like I think 72 hours or 48 hours of just nonstop streaming. Mine is tonight. But they gave us all free skins and stuff to give away and stuff. It's a great initiative. I'm really happy they're doing it.
Tell us about that though. When are you streaming and what's it going to be about?
Let me get the exact time in Eve time.
Okay. So it's 48 hours, Raiden says here. Raiden is the head of Streamfleet, so his information is pretty reliable. 48 hours of straight streaming of EVE Online as the new content, the new expansion comes out, and you get to see other players play the invasions. And they're going to be doing that. They've started, I think, 24 hours ago, and they'll be going for another 24 hours. I think we're right about the middle,
Right.
but I'm not sure.
So starting at midnight tonight, Eve time,
Mhm.
you've got Corvus, Onzo, and then at 01, you've got Rain, and then at 04, you've got me, and then 06, you've got Sergeant Killa, and then wrapping it up at 10, you have IBeast.
Nice.
So right now we're at Schnoodles, and then we've got Fonsui, and then Corvus.
Hey, Mark, whoever Mark is, you know who you are. I won't say your last name. Thank you very much for a donation to our PayPal at talkingandstations.com. Thank you. That's really cool. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the clarification, Raiden. I haven't done my math yet. That's why I hadn't figured out if it was 2 or 3.
Yeah, so let me back up a little bit because we have Liz Lisbreath in chat here. So if you guys want to ask her some questions there, she is in purple. And if you want to listen to her voice and listen to her answer questions from Talking in Stations, that podcast has now been released. So you can find that at talkingstations.com, where we have a full page of CSM interviews coming out. 2 have dropped and more to come. Yes, Ash also has trouble with... Do you have like number dyslexia or something?
No, I just have normal dyslexia. This is just me being lazy.
Just the
It's because it's the time zone thing, because like it's all spread over across multiple days. I hadn't been able to figure it out yet. It's all right. I was spending most of my time just trying to make sure that I didn't miss my time.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Just vanilla dyslexia then. All right.
Yeah, plain old fashioned dyslexia.
Ooh, let's check this out. I want to go back to Le Internet. All right, so there we started with the announcement from CCP that things were back up and running, so they are back. Let's actually check in with Tweet Fleet.
I've always liked the Dyslexic Union's motto.
I hear a joke coming on.
It's dyslexics untie. I thought that might tickle you.
Oh man, that's a good one. All right. That is hilarious. Okay, Jintan made a little poster here as things were not showing up. Dude, where's my car? Poster replaced by Dude, where's my invasion? I think he thought that up while he was in Talking in Stations because he wrote it out first and then he went and made the meme. Uriel, who is an expert in lore for this and many other parts of the backstory of EVE Online. If you ever want to catch up on things, they have a consortium that they do to unravel mysteries of space, which is actually kind of neat if you think about it. It says, if this invasion passes through the stages in over the next few weeks, I really hope the world arc appears before everyone heads to Toronto. Toronto is, what he means by that is There is no Fan Fest in Iceland this year. It's been moved to Toronto, basically, and split up basically among 5 or 6 different events. That's all invasion meetups that are happening in different cities around the world. Toronto is kind of interestingly about Toronto. I used to live there for at least a year, not more than a year. There's a lot of it's a really nice place for Europe to meet North America because it's on the East Coast. The city itself isn't the United States; it's Canada, so it somehow lends itself very, very well to the geography of Europe, which is higher up than a lot of the United States or further north. So it kind of sits in between the two, and that's why you have the Toronto Film Festival. That's a big buying market for film, where Europe and the United States will shop for product that they want to put in theaters. At least it used to be. Now you're going to be shopping for a product that goes on Netflix or Disney XD or what do you call it? Amazon. So, yep. So June 22nd in Toronto, there will be essentially Eve Fan Fest. And what Uriel is saying here is he hopes that the Ark actually appears before Toronto, because people are going to want to talk about it when they're there. This other thing is a commercial. Hi, Wabes.
I really liked it when they actually first showed the Ark, because it reminded me, and like this will separate like proper nerds, like space nerds, from just wannabes, but it reminded me very much of the ship from Babylon 5, Dead Space.
One of our friends, Webb Spaceships, also known as Mark 726, and someone who you would know very well as the guy that made the guide to what to see in Eve. It's called evetravel.wordpress.com. We'll go there for a second if you've never been. And this is what I'm talking about when I say there are people who play this game without PvP. They go and do different things. And this guy has made a site that allows you to go to sites in high sec, low sec, or null sec, and he's totally indexed them for you. And not only has he indexed them for you, but he describes them. I guess I have to accept a cookie. Let's try that. Yeah, I was like, wait, what? So, yeah, you can see.
Great.
There's a ton of information here. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to comment about, like, the makers of the internet really kind of went all out with the whole have a cookie kind of meme sort of like phrase.
There's the website in case you're interested in visiting. He also has really cool. He took pictures of all the nebula. And I was looking at the nebula page and I was thinking like, well, there's a lot of regions missing. Well, this is nebulas, not regions. So some nebulas are seen by 3 or 4 different regions, right?
Yep.
Like this one here, Verge Vendor, you can see that all the way from Dodixie. But there it is. So yeah, those are the nebulas, kind of cool. And then he also made a lore survival guide, which is pretty cool because it is, and it's so funny because this is the way it used to be, right? I'll do one without pictures so you can print it and not waste your ink. That is so cool. It takes me back to 2010. So yeah, this lore survival guide is essentially, it's basically a primer on lore, so you can kind of figure out who's who, who's Sanchez, who's Sisters of Eve, or Society of Conscious Thought. Like, who are these guys? It's the same thing that the source book did for EVE Online. Let me get that. If you haven't gotten this, I suppose I would recommend it. And so EVE Source is a book that does, the same thing. It's kind of a primer on the backstory for all these factions and all the pirates and everything. They all have like a fleshed out story. They're not just red dots in the sky. But Lore Survival Guide did it first, and the Eve Travel Mark, basically. So you can check that out, and I've put it in there. And here he is, Mark726, also known on Twitter as the person we were just talking about. Web spaceships. So he has different names for different places. Not a very good marketer, I must say, but hell of a nice guy. So we brought him up because he was saying that there was dramatic wreckage in space, and that is in an invaded system.
I'm just checking out a wormhole in one of the invaded systems right now.
Yeah. Okay. Tamaya Cowboy is reminding us stream title is wrong. Invasions have started again. That's a good point. Probably. Updates. Let's do that. Invasions, tribute not defended anymore. Invasions continue. And update information. I don't know if that goes through unless I stop the stream, but I'm going to say...
It does. It does eventually.
Yeah, just refresh your browser or something to see that go through.
It may take like a few minutes for it to actually occur.
Oh, good. It updated. All right. I guess when you do it this way, it works faster. We used to have some problems with it. Well, McLeod, what else we got? I guess we could go around looking for things in...
I don't know. Like, I mean, it was kind of funny watching all the streamers in Streamfleet who had been booked to, you know, do the invasion kind of or the invasion feature tour and like all of that, and they couldn't do it because it wasn't on. I feel really bad for them and feel really bad for like them trying to, you know, field questions of why aren't you doing invasion like material, you know. Just kind of really sucked for them. I do kind of hope that they're going to get a bit of an apology from CCP about it, or at least, you know, an apology from someone, because that's pretty harsh.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's not a good idea to have your flag product that you're bringing out go missing or, you know, turn off in the middle of your presentation. But let me redirect your attention from that to the 64-bit client that came out. We knew it was going to come out this summer. It's actually come out a little bit early, I think. June's right around the corner, but we thought it was going to come out at the end of summer, not at the beginning. The way they were talking. Yeah, it was a little early, right?
Yeah.
Although this is beta, it is out, and we have Hilmar here saying in Twitter that 30% of EVE players have already switched. Have you guys switched?
That's it. I think that's actually that's more people who have switched to the 64-bit client than I think have even got two-factor authentication on their on their accounts.
Oh my God! Put two-factor authentication on your account, for God's sakes. Somebody breaks into your account, and I don't know. They can get in many ways. They break your email. They break your account. So
most of the time, the way that they get in, and this is like, you know, most of the time it's not just like someone hacking your account, like, you know, your EVE account kind of thing. Most of the time it's someone hacking into a server that's not really that protected, right? You know, someone like a server of a forum that you're partake in, or that, you know, or a you know, a server, a forum or a website of a
or whatever
that you use, right?
You get broken into.
And they get usernames and passwords, and so they get usernames and passwords, and so they take those usernames, which, you know, sometimes are, you know, email addresses, and they try that password on that email address. And there's lots of people who use the same password for multiple things. And when that happens, if you don't have two-factor authentication on your, you know, on your email, they get into your email. Once they've got into your email, they will look through your email and they'll find other websites that you are a member of, or that you know, use the services of. And then they use the same password with the username that they either find in that email, or they use your email address. Then they get into those, and that's how it propagates. So what happens is people will find you know, your email and passwords and attempt to use it on your email, on your your EVE account, and invariably they will get into people's email accounts that way. or get into people's Eve accounts that way.
Not to
And that's
scare
how you
anybody,
get it.
but if you don't protect yourself, they can take all your stuff and liquidate it, and CCP is unable to really recover that because it takes a long time to unsort that. Okay, so 64-bit client, though, is released in a beta earlier than we thought, and 30% of player base has already adopted it, which is pretty big, and it's kind of ringing true because I've adopted it. I'm on 64-bit, and I'm on a Mac, and you're on a 64-bit on a PC, right?
Sorry, what? Yeah, I'm on
You're on
PC.
64?
64-bit. Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you guys want to know about in EVE Online? If you guys have some questions, I'm willing to answer, like what's going on out there and that kind of stuff. I'm not an oracle. I don't know everything, but I certainly can get in touch with people to find out. And as I said at the beginning of the program, tribute in the middle of the night, or Australian time zone, middle of the night for us, or early morning Europe time if you're there. NC.PL and Horde formed up pretty strong, and Goonswarm's fleet did not engage them. So the iHub that was being fought over has reset back to normal. I'm sure that will get reinforced again, and this will need to happen more often. It's a matter of willpower. Who's going to wake up in the middle of the night and get in there and basically defend that thing. But the reason the iHub is a big deal is because keep stars aren't necessarily a big deal anymore, in that if somebody's going after a keep star, they're probably going to get it. But in order to get to that point, they have to knock out the iHub. So the battles have shifted forward to iHubs. So now what nullsec fights over are iHub timers, and those are very important. SOV doesn't really matter mostly. Sometimes people will skip SOV if they're invading. They'll do that later. Structures matter, and to get to the keep star and to defeat it, you really kind of need to go through the iHub. I don't know if Goonswarmers run into a lot of jamming, which was something we were talking about a few weeks ago, in the southern conflict that's going on between Winter Coalition and the Legacy. Jammers are playing a huge role. And it was suspected that the North would put down a ton of jammers everywhere and really make the progress for the Imperium slow, because the Imperium is invading the North. But that doesn't appear to be the case, because they're already knocking on the doors of SH1, which is it's the operating base for the Northern effort to defend Tribute. But what I can say is it's very interesting. There is an effort now to defend Tribute, at least to take some fights here and there and to slow their progress down. So we'll see. And again, I'll repeat myself. Vince Draken is no one that is going to do what you predict. He's a leader that decides things, and when he decides something, everybody gets in line. There's really no discussion about it outside of when the decision is made, whether it's his or his council's. He is the nominal leader of the North, I think. Why has the effort come now and not a week ago? That, Buttercup 7739, is a very good question. I think there's no way to tell, and if I knew the actual truth, I probably couldn't tell. But because I am not in inner circles in NC. It turns out that I can predict, and so that's a good thing. In my opinion, is there was some conflict on what to do. This is an overwhelming force by the Imperium coming up north. It seems prudent to take down as many structures as you can and essentially retreat and save as much stuff as you can, for two reasons. One is it costs you money to put those things up, and you might as well not lose money if you don't have to. You don't have to worry about the SOV. You know the Imperium's not going to stick around and take SOV and Tribute. That seems unlikely. If they did, they would have to constantly have resources up here to defend it and the willpower to defend it. When I think a large portion of that Imperium Navy that's up here, prefers to make money in Delve when they're home and safe. So you don't worry about the SOV so much, but you do worry about the structures. So you take the structures down. I think if you wanted to do, so I think probably the initial idea was, let's just preserve as much stuff as we can. Let them wash over this place. They'll get tired, and when they go, we'll retake it back. That's usually what nullsec will do when they're outmatched. And that was the case, I think, until something happened. I don't know what it was. It might have been, you never know with Vince. You never know. It might have been the comparisons of, wow, this is just like 2016 when the Imperium was up north and they got wiped out by superior numbers. And Vince probably didn't want to play the same game that Imperium did, where basically you just fold in. I think the Mittani calls it the Fabian defense or whatever. And if I know Vince, he probably didn't like being compared to Mittani or having NC Dot compared to the Imperium. So probably he changed his mind and said, you know what, we're going to fight. That's what we do, and that's what we're going to do. And so you see this effort now to defend tribute. When even a week ago, Killer Bee was saying, nope, no defensive tribute. They can come in, take whatever they want. When they leave, we'll come back. But nope, that's switched. I think there is a fighting spirit, and I think Vince has awakened it in the north. Yep, so that's probably what's happened. Again, that's an assumption from the outside. Goons getting tired? I don't know if they get tired. Maybe they get bored. It's the same thing though, right? Like you're doing something and it's just not as fun as it was. So you're like, you call it tired, you call it bored, but you essentially say, I'd rather, we won here. There's nothing to do. Let's go back home. That happens all the time. Okay, so Eve News 24 actually has a good write-up on this. Basically, no real reason for the war. Hard to motivate your folks. Almost like old Bob with the Max campaign. Yeah, whoever wrote that article was probably listening to Elise Randolph, who said that on Talking in Stations last Sunday. This is reminiscent of the Max Damage campaign by Bob, Band of Brothers, where they essentially picked a region. I think it was the North. Was it the North? I don't know if it was the North, but I think it was. And Max Damage was basically them just going up there to smash things. And that's essentially what Imperium is doing this time. Now, what happened with Bob back in the day is that they started smashing things, and then people started smashing their house, their home. So they had to stop their Max Damage campaign and come back south. You didn't see that, or you haven't seen it yet. There is some stuff going on in Delve. You can see that I was going to say Lock de Volterra. I was thinking back a few years. But you might see Volta in there taking on people who are still trying to work the land, let's say, in Delve. So they're getting picked off and killed. Now, as far as the Imperium, those guys that are getting killed in Delve deserve to get killed because they shouldn't be out ratting when there's no protection around, right? Because the army is up north or the navy is up north. So yeah, there's some damage being done to people personally, but really not to the state. Let's put it that way. So it's not really at this point putting any pressure at all whatsoever for the Imperium to think about coming back down south to defend Delve. That's just it's not the case. I don't know if there's any timers being reinforced, and if there were, there might be a deal with Test to help them, show up for timers so that they didn't have to recommit to going south. Test is an ally of the Imperium. They both reside in the south. Test is actually close to Delve, or probably essentially as close as the Imperium is when they're up north in tribute. So that's probably what's happening there. Again, with Bob, it's kind of a bad example, but it's a good example on what is trying to be achieved. Bob never achieved it. It looks like the Imperium will achieve it because they are not worried about coming back to defend their territory. The damage just isn't great enough down there. Not only do you have Volta down there, but you had Horde put up a bunch of Astra houses. They call them roach motels because they're so cheap and shoddy, and you just put them up as lily pads for your fleets to kind of warp to and be safe on. Little strategic things, but they get cleaned out pretty quick. So that is what's going on there. So Uvi Toll says, "Are goons in trouble?" And he's not being serious. He's saying failure cascade incoming. Are goons in trouble? So we'll just pass that one. The most frustrating thing about this war is that all the fleets are full by the time I log in. Man, if that's true, I don't know what side you're on. It must be on Imperium side. That is a great sign, because if you can put 255 pilots into a fleet, or characters actually, and you can do that twice or three times, that is a significant fleet. If that's happening all the time, there is no group that can really stand up to that. That once you get past two fleets, that's a significant force that is hard to assemble. And if you can assemble that on a regular basis, that's a much bigger force than is needed to take on the North. You know, it used to be, though, that you could have a smaller force fighting larger forces, and it depended on not necessarily skill level, but ship types and doctrines and FCing the fleet commanders and how knowledgeable they were and what their tactics were and stuff like that. So you could set yourself apart with a smaller force fighting a larger force. Those days, there's still strategy involved, of course, but those days, that difference between a small force that's really good and a large force that just is a lot of people, those differences have largely gone away. Now everybody's building these large groups.
Apex forces.
Apex. I like that. What is Skill U up to? That is a good question. They have been relatively quiet. I think they're working, I hate to put it this way, working the land, or they're farmers. I have a few contacts there I could write. I don't know, actually. I'll have to ask them, and I'll wait. But what they've been doing up until this point is kind of laying low and, if anything, helping the Winter Coalition defend their SOV. Their SOV is being invaded by Test at this moment. And actually, what's funny is you would expect that the attention would be all in the north, but Test really put some kind of a front on Winter. And I don't know how effective it was, that we haven't heard much about the results, but they did make a big effort not too long ago. Probably about a week and a half ago. So we'll find out like how that's going this weekend. You have to look at these wars kind of as weeks rather than days, although we do cover momentary peaks. But even today's strategic victory for NC. Is not really worth reporting on until you figure out, like, is this a significant change to what's happening? Otherwise, it's just kind of a little Pyrrhic victory. Okay, so 30% of players have moved to the 64-bit client. Pretty cool. And that's what's going on there.
That's going to give CCP a lot of data and a lot of information to bug fix anything that does crop up.
Oh, CSM. I actually stumbled on this page, but I'll go ahead and open it up. Yeah, all right. This is a really cool place. I want to put that into there. You guys, if you want to visit it, this is CSM Wire. I don't know if it's actually, it belongs to, well, the best way to get to it is noisygamer.com. Did that not come through? Let's try that again. It's all one word. Noisy Gamer Eve Online. It's a friend. So his blog post is called Nosy Gamer. I think that's because noisy was taken, so he went nosy. If you don't read this, you should read this. Advanced players read Noisy all the time. He picks topics, dives deep. He creates his own statistics. The guy's brilliant. And he's a damn good reporter. One of the best, one of the longest standing. So check his work out. And then if you're in the mood, over here is CSM Wire. This covers the last 5 elections, or CSM, but also covers this election. So it'll show you who is running, like Gobbins here. And it gives you all their statements. Gobbins is short on statements, he just said. Sound the horde horn. but I am running, so let's check my page out. Ooh, look at that. What a coincidence. And so you'll see like there's a whole full ballot statement and that whole thing. But this is not it's not formatted because it's really just plucked from the forums, which is, it's located there as well. No, I'm just going here because I knew that there would be something there. That's my excuse. So there it is. Here's Exuki. He's a wormhole candidate, one of a few, I think, but I think probably the highest profile. I hope I'm not offending anyone. He's also part of Talking in Stations. So yeah, so there's CSM Wire. Check that out. Now, I was going to say, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in CSM right now, because right now is a lull before the voting starts. And I think it's quite interesting. Because right now, all the... oh, good. Delana Avo, who says, I vote for people with words in their statement. I wholeheartedly agree. There's Dunk Dinkle in the audience, and you should vote for Dunk Dinkle as well. He's a friend and also a good EVE player. He's been around a long time. He's helped Brave, and he also did a really cool lecture on how to lead without being really noisy. In other words,
carry on.
In other words, how to... I'm just talking to fill gaps, but if you want to jump in, just let me know.
Oh no, I was just gonna say something irrelevant, really, to be honest.
Oh, well,
I was
anyway,
just gonna say, but he, if you like pineapple on pizza, then he's definitely your man. But even if you don't, he states that the only reason why he likes pineapple on pizza is because he's a man of the people and he likes inclusions.
Man of the people and the pineapples. And Dunk has given me the title there, How to Lead Without Being CEO, which was an interesting take on how you can contribute and pitch in to the success of your corporation or alliance without having to be an official title holder, which is a modest way of really doing the work and not caring about the title. So that's what he's about. That's Dunk Dinkle from Brave. And actually, he was just at EVE Down Under on stage. You might have caught him with the CEO or the executor of Brave, Kagali. That's his name. All right. Now you started the pineapple on pizza. Where's that come from, McLeod? Like, what's that?
I don't know. I think it's something that like developed in like just online in like Reddit AMAs, and like it's just ended up becoming a standard question in any kind of AMA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's happening now behind the scenes in CSM, whether candidates know it or not, is there's a flurry of activity. It's almost like if you watch politics in the United States, I don't know what it's like in Britain, there's a ton of fundraising that goes on before the actual campaigns really get going. So it's called like the money primaries. And in EVE, there's the similar thing in that candidates are talking to each other's representatives. It's actually run not by candidates, but by diplomats from different large nullsec blocks, because that's a big voter base, right? Just sheer numbers. And especially the way the game has gone where numbers mean something. I mean, you can see it all over the map, right? That's where you're going to have like big voting blocks if people vote the way they're told to by their alliance. And so those guys are talking to each other because it's about 5 or 6 big blocks, and they're all talking to each other, trying to get each other's candidates on everybody's ballot. And so they're making position trades and stuff like that. And it's a pretty tough squeeze. So we don't know, right? Because people haven't voted, but it's a pretty tough squeeze for people who aren't in nullsec or in some way affiliated with a large group of voters already, which makes it kind of tough. Scorns, thanks for the follow. And thank you to Yano for the follow. So that is an interesting thing because a lot of the positions are being basically negotiated by diplomats, which is kind of interesting. Let's go here to... Might as well put something up. I didn't realize I didn't have anything worth looking at. Wow, this behind the scenes stuff. Don't want to go there. You'll see here, CSM 14 page. Check that out. And this has, this will have our interviews. So talkingstations.com, CSM 14. You'll see all the interviews. About a half-hour interview, or should be about a half hour. I might have overtalked because when I was being interviewed by Raiden there from Streamfleet, I was a bit long-winded. Pay no attention to the time. But you'll see them here. They're about a half hour long. They're little nuggets of great information on candidates as they talk about themselves and what they want to do as CSM people. That election
What's that?
is... What's that?
Was that a stream host that talks a lot? What's this?
Yeah. That was like unfair disadvantage because since I've started streaming, I thought, all right, well, we'll just do these chill streams like Ron. Ron does them very well, right? Where he's like, he can sit quietly for 10 minutes. And then somebody asks him a question, he'll talk. And I'm not capable of doing that. I feel like time is precious, so I keep filling the gaps like a radio talk show. Dead air is just not something that I do. So when I'm interviewed, there's no dead air. Like I don't let the questions breathe. I don't, so it's not, it's a disadvantage to be this kind of a streamer. Not all streamers are like this where you constantly talk. Some streamers actually relax and that's good. So when you get interviewed, you also relax and that's good. So yeah, so disadvantage, -1 for me. All right, just got here. Skoma, is it? Or Skorna? What's your thoughts on the war? I think he's talking to me. Ooh, thanks for the follow, Scuff Smoke. Where's the initiative on this war, McLeod?
We're basically sort of like, waiting. Well, we're doing our part, just like, we don't really sort of bang the drums about it, as it were.
But you're there.
But we are kind of like, we are kind of, fleets coming, flying fleets out of Harkonnen, which is, where we were staged previously to all of this.
Yeah.
Pando said it kind of well, like, I'm glad that, the rest of you guys have, finally decided to come to the north to do something.
Right, because you've been up there this whole time. The initiative you can see is the red on this map, and they've been really kind of the frontier fighters in the north there. Well, it seems like you installed Pen and Snuff. You can see Snuff has some territory there too. They don't usually have territory.
It's strange to have for them to have territory, but okay.
Yeah,
to each his own.
They might take a system or two just to use it as a base, but they're not gonna live there. What's interesting here on this map, can you detect it? I think it will be hard for the people to see it at home, but there's a little blue dot here. I don't know if I can get closer now. It's Mercenary Coalition still has territory. It's they're not there anymore. In fact, they're defunct. They're gone. But they nobody bothered to take their systems. I think they wanted to leave the ADMs up. So. Oh, cool. We got something there. Vote Democratic, Joe Biden 2020. That's hilarious.
I think
man.
some people are just like, I think some people are just, some people don't want to take those systems maybe just, to, as a, like, remembrance maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But talking about initiative in a war, is it not better about when NC is going to do something this war?
Hey,
it does take two to tango.
That is Apple Pear. He's an FC for the Imperium, so he can give us an update on the war's progress. How's it going?
Yeah, I think it's going well. I was a few days off, but I see all kinds of things dying and NC docking, so yeah.
They didn't dock this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I should say Australian time zone, because everybody has different time zone.
Well, I mean the update to the to EVE Online has made the undock button that much larger. So
it should be easier for them to find it, indeed.
Yeah. No. They found it this morning. I did say it was a small victory, but everything counts. They formed up to defend the iHub, and the iHub wasn't attacked, which is that is a strategic victory. So we'll see how long that lasts. I'm sure not long, but we'll see. Body count back in PL. I did hear the same thing. We'll take a look at that. Oh, but somebody had asked before. There's a couple things, by the way. We'll get to them. Dunk has a question, and what was his name? Someone had asked what the status of the war was, and that's why I asked you. The status of the war, as I said before, is pretty much the same. Actually, it's not just the same. I think NC. PL, and Horde are actually putting up a fight, and that wasn't the case a week ago. I think
When?
well, today, right? They put up a fight, defended the iHub. They didn't actually fight because Imperium didn't attack, but they resisted. They didn't just let it happen. And well, that's an important victory. And if they would have lost that, it would have been just embarrassing, right? If the iHub goes down in SH1, that's the staging for NC. I just feel like that would have been embarrassing. So they prevented that from happening. That's in all. I think, to be fair, I think that even if you don't fight, you show up to fight, that's still a victory. I did want to, so let's take a look. If you ever want to look up an alliance, you can go to Dotland. This is where a lot of people go. Even CCP devs go here to look up an alliance.
You're sure you're talking about the right system that got saved?
It's a system next to it, right? D7 TAC, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. D7 TAC.
Because you were talking about SH1.
Yeah, it's right next door. Let's see. So, okay. So it's the iHub in, infrastructure. When did it reset? Yep. Okay, so it's right next door. I don't know what's actually there. There was a Fortizar there. I don't know if it's still there. So I don't know what that iHub is really protecting, but it is in one jump proximity to staging, which would be, I suspect you would see, and I don't know if this is what will happen, but if the Imperium captures D7 TAC and puts up their own structures, they can use that as staging for an attack on SH1. That would just allow them to reship a lot easier, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. Maybe it's not a big deal. Okay, I wanted to look up, though, Pandemic Legion.
Pandemic Legion?
I called them something else the other day. I forgot what it was, but it was kind of funny. It wasn't a bad name. It's just a different name. Pandemic Region. That's what it was.
Oh.
Well, I was like, is Pandemic Region in the area? Yeah, corporations. And yeah, here's Black Omega Security. Well, if I'm not mistaken, Black Omega was a while ago. Let's have a look, because that's Shut Up and Shave. Or, no. Nope, it's not. And they joined recently. I think they're back. That's Body Count. Body Count is actually Mercenary Coalition. This is where Body Count ended up. They did that last year. So they disbanded like November of last year. And their main corp came into Pandemic Legion. And then you also have Black Omega. Black Omega was here. Yeah. I think that's Shut Up and Shave, or Suaz. So originally a goon, he's the guy that sings the Little Bees song, and
yeah, he was the original creator of that parody.
Right, but I heard somebody else had returned to PL. I guess it hasn't happened yet, or I was mistaken. One of the two. Somebody else is coming back to PL, is what I heard. It wasn't Black Omega. It was somebody else. Okay, I probably missed a ton of questions. Sorry, guys. Yes. So to answer, we answered that question. Body count is back in PL, and they've been back since November. That is correct. Hez. And okay, so Dunktinkle took off. Oh, I didn't get to answer his question. So in case he still is listening, the invasions stopped, but they started again. That's the short answer. Hi guys, thanks for checking in. So, okay, I think we'll call it a day in just a few minutes, unless there's anything you want to say. Apple Pear, you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. I was just like here to some talk about the war, and I was wondering what NC was doing, and since you're an NC, I thought maybe
Well, NC again did an Australian time zone, pulled good numbers, and I mean, our corp alone had 28 accounts on, and that is pretty good because it's a U.S. time zone corp. So that was pretty impressive for us. I'm sorry, Mr. Nucking, that these things are ending. I am actually on the West Coast, so it's my morning, and I stream before I go to work, so I got to take off at some point. Normally, I can go as late as 11 a.m. my time, which would be like 45 more minutes. But there really isn't that much to talk about. The war is proceeding. I do think that there has been a change in the attitude from the North. The North is going to fight, it looks like. The Imperium is still up there breaking things down. What's happening in CSM is a lot of trading for ballot positions is happening right now, which will determine the majority of CSM. It really is determined before the voting even starts. So it's kind of vital to get in on that.
Yeah, you weren't talking. I was saying about that, etc. But you were mentioning that, like, Pineapple Peach is the worst, and everybody should just follow the GSF ballot, and everything will be good with the CSM.
Yeah, I don't know about that because I don't know how many people, because I think the initiative's going to have their own ballot. Bastion, I don't know what they're going to do, but sometimes they're independent, sometimes they're not. So the Imperium's ballot, it depends on who actually votes it too. That's actually in Goon Swarms. There might be people who decide they want to put in some favorites for different reasons. I know right now Olmeca, is it Olmeca? Olmeca is kind of a favorite of the North because he put out a video, I think it's called Whaling, where he's taking on Delve and making a lot of money while he's stealing excavator drones from Rorquals. And that's kind of appealing, especially right now when NC is kind of getting, when the North is getting pretty much run over by Imperium. It's nice to have a video that shows Imperium getting hurt by somebody who's taken a bunch of money out of their pockets, or at least the people who live there. So Olmeca, the guy that's doing that, put out a video, it's compelling content on YouTube, and so I think that probably won him a lot of favors for CSM because he's running for CSM as well. So I think he's kind of an underdog for the North. No, they'll invest money where their emotions are. They'll invest their vote where the emotions are.
There's no shame in that in any way, shape, or form.
And according to Mr. Nuck here, he developed a Whaling before Bomber's Bar. I had heard about what was going on where you boosh the excavators away from the Rorquals, and once they get too far away from the Rorqual, at that point they lose connection and drift, and then you can pick them up and own them. And so you can, those are $1 billion each. So if you do that multiple times, you're going to end up making a bunch of money. And so that's what he was really good at, among other things.
I mean, I wondered how he got that many people into the system and onto a set of excavators, in order to do that quickly. But it was actually kind of funny to sort of see how he did it. And all it takes is just literally, one person in system in a in something that has probes. Like a single command SE with probes, like literally landing on a hit with on excavator drones, and then boosting those excavator drones like away 100 kilometers first, because excavators are actually ridiculously slow in terms of movement speed. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because once you've got them boost from the raw call 100 kilometers, then you have a decent amount of time to be able to get the rest of your 4 or 5 boosters into the right place in order to boost them far enough away to jam them out and scoop them.
Yeah.
It
So
was,
his,
it was actually really impressive.
probing them is so easy. They have such a high signature. It's like 1 or 2 cycles with probes, and you have them at like a very large range. So that's like even as easy as like probing a Titan down or something like that. Pretty much, it's easy to probe those excavators. That's just crazy.
Wow. Okay, so his divine shadow is somebody in chat says Olmeca doesn't sound like a mentally adult person. I wouldn't vote for him. He's going to be a pain for all other CSM members. Maybe I don't know much about Olmeca. I'm just saying that he's probably a favorite among northern voters because he's taken it to Delve, and that might help him out. Plus, he's good at the game in certain aspects, and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Not gonna lie, he does he does he is a good example of someone who takes asymmetrical warfare and really explores it well. So having that kind of having that sort of person on there to sort of appreciate asymmetrical warfare might be a good idea. But then again, that's literally one aspect of Eve, and you can't expect asymmetrical warfare to be talked about on every single topic that a member of the CSM needs to sort of be able to discuss with CCP about. So
yeah. Well, a lot of voters, I think, don't take it seriously. So it's probably, and you can see that from the comments here. It would be funny to have Olmeca in there with the other CSM. As Mitten said, Gobbins, Olmeca, and Aerith in the same room. It'll be funny. And I think Zanuria benefited from that kind of a vote. Let's throw somebody in there that's disruptive, because we don't really like the CSM or even think that they're important, so we might as well at least make it entertaining. And so they will vote who they think might be entertaining as a CSM. Is it's kind of a drawback. There's always something of that element in elections.
Yeah, there's always the protest vote in some way, shape, or form.
Well, the protest vote is not to vote. I know everybody says it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Just vote. Well, I disagree with that. It totally matters who you vote for, and if you don't know, then don't vote. But if you want to do your duty to your God and country, then vote whatever ballot they give you.
That's probably where our sort of thoughts on the matter kind of violently diverge, mate. I'm very much of a fan of voting, regardless.
So Cheetah takes,
if it is, even if. Sorry, go for it.
Cheetah takes exception, saying that is completely unfair assessment. By all accounts, Zanuria was a good member of CSM, and that is true. But it is also true that he was elected by people who wanted him to go in there and disrupt. Those things can both be true. And also, if he was a great CSM member, his support evaporated the next season, and he was not re-elected. He's running again this year. That is Zanuria that we're talking about. Now, he was a good CSM member, but he had lost his momentum because what he went in there to do was not accomplished. He wasn't a troll, and he did a good job on the CSM, and he was earnest, and he participated, etc. And that's not what people sent him there to do, and so they did not support him the second time around. That's something that he would agree with. I think we talked in an interview that was the case. All right. So there, we can probably close up shop for today. We'll be back. Sometimes I do a Friday stream in the morning, same time, but we'll see if
You've got
anything happens.
you've got the got the show tonight with Artemis. I
Oh, of
believe,
course, yes,
right? So
yes.
that's to come.
There is a show tonight. There is big news brewing. There's different theaters going on, and one thing I'll tease you about is, of course, you have the northern conflict going on, and you see an escalation in the south as well going on. But there's a new conflict erupting in Providence. So we'll talk about that. Hopefully, we'll talk about that tonight, or Sunday. Something's going on in Provi. I wonder what it is. And as for CSM, before I sign off, I want to say to all you fans that are watching, or if you're not a fan, you're just kind of stopping by, I want to tell you too that I am running for CSM, and I hope that you will vote for me, and I hope you will vote for me at the top of the ticket as much as you can. I know you guys will probably are mostly nullsec players and want to vote your ballot and just make things easy on yourself, but I think it would be good to have a PvP representative that you have with all the people that are going to get in anyway on your ballot, but also have someone who understands the connective tissue of PvP, the empires, the history, all the stuff that has happened years ago up to now, all in a consecutive mind frame. And you have that, and in addition, someone who cares about the other aspects of the game, not just PvP. So I think it's nice to talk about PvP to people who don't play this game. It's a big part of it, of course. But it was also be neat to see CCP develop a pathway to different types of players, so we can bring in a larger population. So check that out. If the elections are coming up, I will be campaigning, basically soft campaigning, right? Want to make Talking Stations not a CSM campaign platform, but I am asking for votes, because if fans don't vote for me, I won't get in. And I guess that could be considered a good thing, but I honestly think that without a strong voice for other parts of the game, you're not going to get a balanced CSM view, and CCP won't get an official balanced view or more balanced view of what the game is all about. So check that out. And also, I talk to everybody. So, there is nobody I don't talk to. I spend most of my hours typing away at people that I've never met before. You can always reach me at Talking Stations Discord, and I'm willing to talk to anybody about any ideas at just about any time. So there's that, right? All right, guys. McLeod, Apple Pear, thanks for stopping by. And thank you, people in chat, for coming by. We will see you maybe tomorrow, but stay tuned for tonight, as Talking in Stations does a program later on tonight in, I don't know, like 7 hours. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to dump you off to a friend. Let's see if he's on. We're going to raid Ashtarothi. Hello. Did I misspell raid?
I mean,
Okay.
if you misspelled raid and you did spell Ashtarothi, that's quite impressive.
Ashtarothi, I know I got right. Yeah, I misspelled Ashtarothi. Don't tell him.
I know I got Ashtarothi right. Oh wait, I misspelled Ashtarothi.
You guys going to Eve North? Have a great time. I'm gonna try to go, but it's unlikely. If I don't go there, I might go to Vegas. I don't know. This year is up in the air, but I'd love to meet you guys in person. Say hello. Okay, everybody, we are going to hang out with Ashtarothi. Thanks for coming around. We will see you later tonight when Talking Stations resumes with Artemis Albosa and the gang. All right, I think the raid is through. Okay, I'll shut this down. Thanks, McLeod.
That's all right, dude.